Hey everybody, welcome back. This week we're going to be making a delicious vegetarian take on the dish called Marry Me Chicken. It's a delicious combo of pan-fried chicken, sun-dried tomatoes, coconut milk, and fresh basil that's really delicious. In this version we're going to ditch the chicken and we're going to be making it with chickpeas instead. This makes the dish slightly lower in protein, but it does make it higher in iron, higher in fiber, and lower in saturated fat and sodium, all of which are good things. It also cuts down on the cost considerably, and it speeds up the cooking time. So let's jump in. This dish starts with an onion. I'm using a red onion here, but a regular old yellow cooking onion would work just fine. I'm also going to use 3 large cloves of garlic, finely minced. And I'll add some olive oil to the pan, and I'll let that get hot, and then we'll add in the onion. Once it's softened up a bit, we can add in the garlic, and then cook that for another 30 seconds or a minute or so. Then we'll add in a good pinch of chili flakes, as well as some oregano, and I'll just let that saute for another minute or so. Now we want to get the sun-dried tomatoes prepared. Normally I buy sun-dried tomatoes in a jar, which come packed in oil, but these particular ones I found are vacuum packed with no oil, so we'll see what they're like. I'll get out about 2/3 of this package maybe, and then I'm going to chop these into strips or bite-sized pieces. Now I'm going to open up a can of chickpeas, drain off the liquid as we don't need it for this recipe, and then I'll add those to the pan, giving them a quick stir to combine. I'll then open a can of tomato paste and add roughly half the can or a couple of spoonfuls. I'll also add in the sun-dried tomatoes at this point and give everything a good mix. Now you want to let this cook for a few minutes here. You want to cook the raw tomato paste a little bit. It helps to mellow it out. Next I'll open up a can of coconut milk and I'll add that. Just a quick aside, I love this Delicious Kitchen brand coconut milk. It's so thick and creamy it doesn't even pour out of the can. I'll also add some salt here and lots of cracked black pepper. We'll give that a good stir to combine everything, and then I'll turn the heat down fairly low, and we'll just let everything simmer here for a good 10 minutes or so. Just enough time to make some rice and heat up some naan bread. Now I do have a good recipe for some quick naan breads that you can make at home, and I'll add that to the channel here at some point, but for tonight I don't have time for that, so I'm just going to be using these store-bought ones. Just wrap these up in some foil, and we'll stick them in the oven just for a few minutes to warm through. These store-bought ones are actually fairly good as long as you heat them up a little bit. Okay, final ingredients for this dish is a big handful of fresh basil leaves. I just picked these out of the garden, but in the cost breakdown later in the video, I'll include the cost as though it were store-bought. Now once these are all picked through, I'm just going to give these a rough chop. And this definitely doesn't need to be finely chopped or anything. You could also just tear it up with your fingers if you prefer. We're not looking for small pieces here. We kind of want fairly large bits of basil in the final dish. So once these are all chopped up, we can get those added in. And then we'll give that a really good stir. Just let the basil wilt down for a couple of minutes. And that's the dish. This plate is full of flavor, and it tastes like it takes a lot longer to make than it actually does. I'm just serving this with some white rice and those naan breads that we warmed up earlier. This is a really healthy dish, but it's also incredibly flavorful. So let's take a look at what this costs to make. Now when you look at this list of items that go into this dish, it's interesting because there really isn't one item that makes up the main cost. The sun-dried tomatoes actually ended up being the most expensive component here, followed by those naan breads. And if we'd made those naan breads ourselves, it would have brought that cost down to just pennies there. Everything else on this list is pretty low cost, with just the chickpeas and the coconut milk being more than $1. So the total cost for this dish was under $10, $9.83. Now we got 6 portions out of this with a couple of lunches the next day, so that brings the per portion cost down to just $1.63. Pretty hard to beat. This dish took about 10 minutes to prepare, and then roughly 20 minutes to cook with the rice and everything. So I think we can safely call this one a 30-minute meal. So that's today's dish. Quick and simple take on Marry Me chicken that's super creamy, filling, and satisfying, and it doesn't skimp out on flavor, even if it doesn't have the chicken in there. That said, you could easily make this with the chicken if you'd prefer. Just season and saute off some boneless chicken pieces. When they're brown, remove them from the pan. Cook everything else exactly like you saw it in this video, and then at the end just add the chicken back in when you add in the basil. If you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, please do hit the like button. And as this is a new channel, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing so I can keep bringing you more videos. Talk soon.